Hello and welcome back to our second segment on how to get a divorce. And in this segment we have Michelle Mooney, who recently went through her own collaborative divorce along with her divorce coach, Susie Duffy, a marriage family therapist. Welcome again. And turn to you first, Michelle. You went through this collaborative divorce and describe what you went through, how it was like for you, this process.
Well, the divorce process was far more emotional than I would have ever anticipated. I was very clouded by those emotions and really unable to function, for lack of a better term. And the collaborative process, because of the coaching aspect, really helped me to contain those emotions. And my work with Susie was instrumental in helping me to manage to be able to make decisions that were really lifelong, long-term decisions. And so it was very helpful to have the coaching aspect in the collaborative process.
And Susie, your role as Michelle's divorce coach, perhaps you can describe what you did and how the two of you worked together.
I was Michelle's divorce coach, and so that means that we did a lot of one-on-one work together. And also, I was a member of the whole collaborative team. And being a part of the team, one of my jobs is to care about what the family goes through. So even though I was working specifically with Michelle, our goal is to help the entire family through the process of divorce.
Michelle, you described the emotion of going through this divorce and a collaborative divorce. Was the process as emotional as you thought it was going to be?
It was actually more emotional than I thought it was going to be. I had made the assumption in life that when people get divorced, it's because they want to get divorced, that it was a mutual decision. It was not my decision to get divorced, and that sort of turned into the emotional aspects of the process escalated on both sides, my former spouse and I, to a point that I wasn't prepared for. And so the coaching, working with Susie, really helped me to dissect a lot of all of the feelings that I was going through that were completely unanticipated on my end.
Now, it's my understanding that the parties, the divorcing couple, they go through a number of sessions where they're together with their coaches and they're trying to work out this divorce. What, Susie, as a divorce coach, what do you do to prepare, or did you do to prepare Michelle for her role in these sessions?
Well, what I had mentioned earlier, one of the techniques we use is helping the clients tell their story. And sometimes when someone tells their story, it's a very sort of problem-saturated story, or be a very blaming story, or filled with a lot of anger or other emotions. So one of the things that we try to help our clients do is to have that story, but maybe look at it from another perspective, or maybe look at it from a different angle. So helping to tell that story and maybe read it in a story that can be more acceptable to process some of those emotions.
And how was Michelle during the actual sessions that you went through with her, where the attorneys are present and the other spouse? How did you do in that?
Michelle did great. She came a long way, because when she came in, she was very distraught, as she had mentioned, and she was working with a lot of emotions. And her case was a little even more complicated with some other grief issues that she was going through, so a lot of loss at the time. So when Michelle first came into some of the team meetings, she was more quiet, maybe more laid back, not really sure what to do or what to say. As we worked together and we did some role-playing and some other techniques, she was able to really get her voice. And so by the end of our meetings, she was coming in prepared with spreadsheets and talking about from a very strong place internally of what she wanted and what she was looking for. So she made a lot of progress.
Describe that progress, Michelle.
It was quite a journey, Jan. I was suffering a lot of complicated loss, and you throw the divorce on top of that, and I literally couldn't think straight. And so to go to meetings where you're in a conference room trying to make decisions that were going to impact your financial status, etc., were extremely difficult for me. But the role playing that Susie mentioned was extremely helpful because it gave me some practice time so that when I went into these meetings, I wasn't blindsided by what activities were going to happen. This is the first and hopefully last time I'll ever go through a divorce process, but you have one shot and one shot only. So those role-playing sessions were key in helping me to build my strength to ultimately be an active participant in the meetings that were attended by my former spouse as well as the lawyers and the accountant, etc.
Having done collaborative cases, I know that the approach, different than litigation, is to try to get the parties, the spouses, to work together and talk in these sessions that we have. How did you find yourself in that position of having to speak with your spouse in these sessions? How was that for you?
I went from not being able to speak, not being able to talk, and I really had to put my lawyer in front of me, to leading the meetings, addressing my former spouse, and taking an active role in asking for the things that I wanted and seeing that my future was going to be held intact. And it took a long time throughout this process. It took a lot of work with Susie, to be able to get to a point where I could stand on my own 2 feet and address my former spouse in a non-emotional, calm way. It was a really terrific journey to come out the other end, to be able to simply calmly talk at the end of the day.
Thank you very much. We break now, and at our next segment we will have Wiley Johnson and his client that he coached, Owen Martin. Thank you very much. We'll be back in a few minutes.